Okay, hi, I'm Anna Berry here with NewJersey.org. Happy to be at Zuccotti Park. It's a beautiful Friday, and you know what? Everyone is happy. Everyone is here fighting for something, shouting about something, giving away something that they believe in for the betterment of America, and I think that this captures it so well. Wake up from the American dream, create a livable American reality, because it's all about not the problems that we have, it's about the possibilities. And I do want to quote George Orwell says in Homage to Catalonia, "I don't always need to know what I'm fighting for when it is clear what I'm fighting against." Well, I want to find out what people are fighting for in a positive way, what the vision could be from all of this. It's been almost 6 weeks. People have been down here, and it's about to get cold, and it's about to get pretty miserable. But let's hope their spirits keep up, and let's hope that this reaches people's minds, so there can be a positive change. Because America is a beautiful country, and we are the leaders, one of the leaders in the world, and we have to make some changes. And this is the main change that I've noticed people have in their hearts is open discussion. Let's just talk about it. Let's figure out something together. So, Anna Berry, we're going to keep interviewing more people and see what they have to say. Well, I think a lot of people are a little bit confused about what people here are fighting for or going for. What do you think the message and the solution would be for this whole thing to culminate at the end?
I'm not sure, but I hope there is one. And, you've got dumb people like SOB Donald Trump saying, well, there's no leadership and they don't have any objectives. They should be in Washington. But that's what Trump would say, and that's what you would expect from him.
And I think awareness is the most important thing. Awareness is the first step to any movement, and the support of the number of people so that our president knows that people are behind him and that we think it's important that we live together in this world in a little more equitable fashion.
So tell me, what are you doing here and what your message is?
What am I doing here? I'm here showing support for the cause of what's going on here. In turn, I'm showing support towards myself, because mine is I have a personal place in this cause, or what's happening. I feel that it personally affects me.
Well, tell me about your personal effect.
Okay, well, my personal effect is I'm of color, so since I'm of color living in a Europeanized, colonized state world, place that I'm in under British control, that already makes me an outsider, and I'm part of the oppressed, and also I'm with the poor. So not only am I oppressed, I'm poor. So this is a venue here to stand up for the oppressed and poor, which I feel that I'm in that category. And I feel on a mainstream scale, what this movement, quote unquote, is trying to achieve, it may not. But on a smaller scale, what they have done, they provided monetary shelter, they've given food, they're giving out clothing, so they're helping people who, in a sense, they speak about, they help them live their everyday life.
It's good. Now, what is this wonderful contraption you guys have here? What are you giving away or selling?
Well, this is a comfort station, and essentially what this is people come here and donate clothing materials and toiletries and bedding materials, such as sleeping bags and tarps, that kind of thing, and then we give it out to whoever is occupying the park. So, and we just give it out for free. So people come and donate, and we give out stuff for free.
One of the problems is that the keeping this clean, the sanitary conditions of Zuccotti Park, and here we have the cleaning team, so it is clean and sanitary. Okay. And what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, I think that I understand the discontent with the large banks and the bailouts that have taken place, but I think the solution that some are prescribing here I wouldn't necessarily go for. So tend to be more of a libertarian, free market capitalist, Ron Paul supporter, and so not necessarily the government's the solution to the problems. In fact, I think the government in bed with the big corporations is the problem. So it's the unsound monetary policies coupled with the corporations, coupled with the big banks, I think ultimately is where the problem lies.
Right now, we're getting ready for Occupy Halloween, so there's going to be a lot of shifting and moving going on this afternoon. So it's going to be a lot of work this afternoon because it's a 3-day holiday weekend, and we're a sober alternative to the events that are occurring throughout New York City. So a lot of people and young people will be coming down here because the New York City parade that goes on, you have to be members of the route of the parade. They don't let outsiders in because it's such a big parade. So we're becoming a natural counterpoint to the New York City Greenwich Village Halloween parade.
Oh, that's wonderful. So Occupy Halloween right here.
Right here, all weekend.
What profession are you in?
I'm a carpenter.
Okay, so do you feel that your profession is something that you can sustain yourself, or do changes need to be there?
Personally, I'm really lucky. I do have a job that, it's not going anywhere. But I'm a small minority in my generation. I mean, we no longer produce anything. We're not America's not a producing country. We don't manufacture. We're mostly paper pushers. We take Form 10B down to HR, and that's our job. And I would really like to see a movement, especially amongst my radical peers and everything, back towards working with your hands and producing stuff, farming and everything, because once this all comes crashing down, if you're a paper pusher, you don't have a lot of options.
No, it's a very, very good point.
It will come crashing down, whether or not we have anything to do with it. It's an unsustainable system, and it's been riding one big bubble since World War II, and it's gonna pop eventually.
Are you a button maker? Is that your profession?
Right now, while I'm making buttons, I'm a button maker. Yep.
What else do you do?
I do very little. I'm really basically a very lazy guy, but that's why I have all this energy to come out here and make buttons for a cause I strongly believe in.
But what allows you to just come out here during the day and make buttons for free?
I'm a free agent. Well, thank you. I'm retired.
So in Norway, what have people been saying about Occupy Wall Street in America?
I'm not sure, but it's a lot about it in the news. But what the people's opinion is, I don't know.
What is your opinion?
I think it's great that people will just demonstrate their meetings. Yeah.
What do you think of it so far? You're here. It's a lot of color, a lot of people, a lot of message.
What to say? It's as I say, it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of engagement.
If something positive could come from this in your eyes, what would it be?
From this?
From all of this, Occupy Wall Street, all over, 1,500 different cities.
The most positive thing that can happen is for a better income distribution and the restoration of the American dream. Today, you essentially have slavery. You probably did an unpaid internship before getting a job as a journalist. Okay, what is an unpaid internship? It's not slavery. And he did an unpaid internship. And my sons who went to college did an unpaid internship. How many? Okay.
Well,
Why?
because you have a dream and you do what you have to do to make it happen, and money is not the root of it. No. Money will come. The heart has to be first.
You're producing wealth for somebody, and usually when somebody produces wealth to somebody, they get paid for it, okay? But here, labor laws, the hell with labor laws. There's no minimum wage at zero.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who maybe don't agree or didn't agree, and now they do. Talk a little bit about what you didn't agree with and how you have changed your mind for a few things.
Well, I'm definitely not anti rich people. I mean, I want people to have mega yachts, and I want people to freaking have cool cars. I mean,
you're wearing a JP Morgan hat, yeah, so you definitely...
Yeah, well, it's free. I don't like the bank at all. I definitely recommend not going to that bank.
Well, then don't wear the hat. So as a teacher, as a writer, as a professor, as a smart man, what do you see here? What do you
that's what I want to talk about.
Tell me.
My perception. And this has been hard to do. It's hard to define. People having a hard time getting a handle. This particular movement has to result in a better world, a holier world. What we're trying to do, the government has to become holier. It's not holy enough
Okay, hi, I'm Anna Berry here with NewJersey.org, and what a day it's been. It's Friday. It's almost 6 weeks into the Zuccotti Park, Occupy Wall Street protests, but protests I wouldn't say is what I see and what I feel. I see a lot of people here. It's a community. It's people that are a little crazy. It's people that are brilliant and smart, and people that are wanting to get dialogue started. That's the message, okay? So it's a positive thing. Happy to be here. I'm sure it's going to continue on. It's going to be Occupy Halloween this whole weekend, so if you want, come on down. But winter's coming, and people have warm hearts, and they got a strong mind, so let's just see what happens from this. I think something positive will.
Hello, this is Liam McDermott with NJ.org, and we are here in beautiful Zuccotti Park, where every day is Halloween, and today in particular is Halloween. We're here to find out what the protest is all about.
I'm in the insurance business by trade, and I'm also a Gulf War veteran, and when Obamacare passed, I started my own business based on the idea of bringing the benefits of Obamacare to my customers. So I was a proponent of the law. The more I learned about it, the more I learned how bad it is for individuals and businesses. For the first time in our history, the federal government is allowed to take money from individuals and corporations, give it to a private company, and neither the company nor the federal government has to give any services or products in return for the money they collect.
Down here, why don't you take one of these prickers and see if you can actually deflate Wall Street, okay?
Do I have to put this pricker in my urethra, or how does this work?
No, you try to deflate me. I'm a representative of Wall Street, all white, no blood on my hands, and I doubt if you'll be able to draw any blood from this little pricky.
Oh, I understand. Okay, so let me go ahead and give this a try here.
Okay. Give it everything.
You feeling that?
Nah, feeling
nothing.
Nothing. Tell me when you're in. Nothing.
Wow,
Right,
that is
right. See, that's the way it is, actually. That's the way Wall Street is. You can shoot all the arrows that you want, and they don't seem to bleed. So we got to keep this up.
And what are you exactly here protesting?
That's a good question. I've been here since the beginning. So my whole spiel is that I want a direct form of democracy, and I want people's opinions, no matter what they be, to be represented in their lives.
Okay, so direct democracy and people's opinions
of whatever. Like if you're a socialist, you should be able to vote socialist, and that should be, if you're the majority, you should have that reflected in your community.
Okay, and
so I don't really have a personal, like I would like to end the drug war and foreign policies. Like I have my own spiel, but my main reason being here is so other people can have their own voice in their lives.
Sir, what exactly are you here protesting?
I'm here because I'm outraged that my congressman, Steve Rothman, sold out to Wall Street and super wealthy corporations by voting for the Korea and Panama Free Trade Agreements. The Korea Trade Agreement basically makes it illegal, in effect, to regulate Wall Street, prohibits regulation of too big to fail, toxic derivatives, all the things that caused this financial crisis in the first place. And the Panama Trade Agreement is going to help corporations hide their money in overseas bank accounts so that they don't have to contribute to our tax base. So while the little guy has to pay their taxes, corporations are using Panama as a loophole, and Steve Rothman is facilitating this.
No, they don't, sir. I mean, they don't. The Federal Reserve they don't lend money to anybody. They lend it to the 22 primary dealer banks and some of the second tier ones. But
they have the shares too, right? So they're pretty much just giving money to themselves.
The Federal Reserve has the shares in the banks.
The shares of the Federal Reserves are owned by all the big banks.
The Federal Reserve is not a publicly owned corporation. There are no shares.
It's a privately owned corporation.
No, it's a government. It's a government entity.
The governors are assigned by the president, but it's a private corporation. If you don't believe me, look at John L. Lewis versus the United States of America, sir, and you will find there in black and white print that it is a private corporation.
Occupy Wall Street, here to make sure your comfort, whether you want a hug, shoes, hat, gloves, tent, sleeping bag, or blanket.
How about a job? Can we do that?
You could volunteer to give some sorting out into storage. We could sure use volunteers, whether they're volunteering their time or volunteering more coats. We could use more coats.
Excellent. And how long have you been down here for?
3.5 weeks.
So that's really since the beginning, huh?
Yeah.
Have you?
I think it's been like a week longer, but I'm not sure.
Have you noticed any change in the crowd or the mood around here?
Definitely more cooperation amongst people, and even if they're working or unworking, everybody's here relaxed more. They're not so stressed on like the greed situation. They're here like, how can I help? You know, how can I be helpful? And there's less discrimination here. Everybody's feeling like one, like they want to do stuff together. And that's how the whole world should be, whether it's the work class or relaxing, you're going dining, anywhere you're supposed to be more togetherness. You know?
Instead of having the New York Stock Exchange representing perpetual, forever corporations, we need to have what they call the People's Exchange, 3 of them actually, sitting on the Oval Office in the center of that, and one in real time, and one in the Congress, and one in the Senate, and it should represent all 50 states, all counties, and all the way down to the zip codes. And by the way, all 16-year-olds and all 17-year-olds should be empowered to vote alongside the 18-year-olds. And we don't have to go and start pulling levers at a school, at a public place, at a voting booth. We can vote right from our living rooms. That's when America's going to rise again, and the dollar's going to reign supreme. And if China, that's why we want Mitt Romney, because he's going to get tough with China et al.
What would President Obama have to come out here and say for you to be satisfied to the point where you would go home feeling like you had done what needed to be done?
Well, I actually voted for him, and I'm very disappointed that he hasn't done more. After the economic crisis that we had, he had a chance to actually have meaningful reform, and he didn't take advantage of it.
How are you tonight, sir?
I am enthused by what I see.
Is that right? And what exactly are you doing here?
I'm supporting the people that are here because this is a momentous moment in history. This is a good idea, and there's no stopping it.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. And what exactly do these people hope to accomplish, and do you hope to accomplish by supporting them?
Well, them and myself would hope to accomplish economic equality on a global scale.
Okay, and how do you envision that coming to fruition?
By winning the hearts, souls, and minds of men.
I like for the middle class not to have to support their own selves anymore, where as opposed to any help that they get comes out of their own taxes.
So you think the middle class shouldn't be supporting themselves?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see a little bit of help from the upper class. I mean, aren't we all supposed to help each other if that's the case? No? Concierge.
You're a concierge and they hired somebody cheaper than you to replace you?
I was getting paid $60 an hour, and I got replaced with 2 people that were getting paid $6.75 off the books. I mean, that's the same tale that we hear throughout the states everywhere. Not that, I mean, I have nothing against immigrants. I come from immigrant parents, but
But you do have something against them when they take your job.
Well, of course, exactly. I mean, I want the same kind of opportunity. I want the same American dream that everyone else wants. So, yes, it tickles my pickle.
Hello. This is Liam McDermott with NJ.org, and we are here in the bowels of the Occupy Wall Street movement to find out what it's all about. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about why you're here?
I'm here to support my friends and my family in the struggle that our country is going through with the economy and how messed up things are. I believe a lot of tax policy should be changed. I don't believe all these corporate companies should be supporting these people's campaigns, election campaigns, and that's pretty much it. I have some other views too.
I would definitely change the way societies run. For instance, anything with its own interest can't be part of the government. That's a very big thing. That's how corruption begins.
Can you repeat that?
Anything that has its own interest should not be part of the government at all. That is where corruption begins.
Anything that has its own interest. Could you elaborate on that for me a little bit? I'm not exactly understanding what you mean by that.
Sure. Well, right now we have corporations that are part of the government pretty much. And, people say corporations are part of the government. Of course, corporations are the government right now in America and across the world. Corporations send in lobbyists and corporations pay off senators in order to make their own laws.
We repossess, we take the things you used to call your own. We repossess, we redistribute every car and phone. We repossess, we make you wish you'd never taken a loan. Your pain is our gain, our joy. Your sorrow we repossess and strip you to the bone. Strip you right down to the bone.
I teach yoga here at Occupy Wall Street. We call ourselves Occupy Yoga.
That is wonderful. And have you found a lot of people are interested in doing yoga here?
Yeah, I felt that the first time I got here was there was a very strong sense of community and spirit here. And what I teach is Kundalini Yoga. It teaches a lot of meditation work and a lot of spiritual work. And I found that there's a great synergy between that and the people that are here. So it was a natural melting pot. It was like a rich vein of spirituality, of commonality that people here have. And intertwining that with the movement, really giving people a strength of spirit, I feel is like where the correction really begins. Because people who are like in the 1%, so to speak, were fulfilled inside. They wouldn't be looking outside of themselves for happiness and fulfillment, and they would see what they're doing in a greater sense of community.
My grandma. My grandma
Hi,
will
Mom,
kill
we
me.
love porn. Thanks.
Shut up.
Your grandma would kill you just for being down here?
She's scared. She's 80 years old. When we first walked through, she said, oh, "Get out of here, you're gonna die." She's 80 years old. She doesn't know we've been here a month.
So it's not really your political motivations that would upset her. It's just a safety issue being in New York.
It was safety, for her in the protest. Like I said, she's 80 years old and she's scared for my safety, but she doesn't know how safe it is here. She doesn't.
And what exactly are you protesting here?
I'm protesting, you know what? We are the 99%. We are, some for some middle class, some for some lower class. We're tired of putting out money, paying taxes, and everybody in these buildings can put their feet up. There's money in the economy that's being hidden, stolen, and we're paying more on taxes, and the people that can afford them aren't paying.
And what are you guys here protesting exactly?
Food justice and social justice for all.
So justice for carrots and people.
Mostly the people, but the carrots too, yes.
And what would you change about the current food system?
Well, everything. I think right now poor people are eating or only have access to a lot of unhealthy foods, fast food, and I think it's important for everyone to have access to affordable and fresh whole foods.
Okay, that's a wonderful platform to be on. What about the money in politics? Are you here to protest that as well, or?
Yeah, definitely. Like there should be more money put into education. I'm also a U of T member, an educator, and I feel like more money should be going into education and social justice.
So, if in your view you would just allow the banking system to fail?
Well, I think that's kind of capitalism, isn't it? In its purest form, capitalism, the market will work itself out. So, if in fact these banks have been failing, which they have been, minus our bailouts, they would have, then that's in fact what should happen and what does happen to smaller businesses. So yes, I do think that they should fail, as capitalism would dictate.
I'm here because I'm a middle-class American and I'm fed up with the inequity in the system. The top keep getting richer and richer and richer exponentially, and the corporations are making huge profits, and they're telling us that they're broke. They're crying poverty, and they're cutting our wages, they're cutting our benefits, they're cutting our pensions, and they're telling us we're too expensive. I'm a state employee. I'm a member of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. I'm a union member. I work for the state of Connecticut in a hazardous duty occupation. I'm a youth services officer. I work with juvenile delinquents age 13 to 19. And the rich people who are driving the agenda are telling me that I'm not worth what I make. And they make $10, $11, $12 million a year and think nothing of it. And they take more and more, they're taking more and more, and we're getting less and less, and it's not fair. My wife is a school teacher. She's an elementary school teacher, another union member. They're shitting on the unions, they're tearing us apart.
How are you today, man?
Stop the corruption of big corporations.
Oh, okay. And you say, why do we even need Wall Street? That's a pretty good point. I never actually thought of that.
Wall Street.
Do you think?
I don't need Wall Street.
So you would be just fine if they just blocked that street off and just never let anybody on it again?
No, not block the street.
Oh, you mean shut down the stock exchange?
Shut down the corruption, the stock exchange, right?
Okay, great. We appreciate your time, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As a student, I want there to be a student movement, but also a movement connected to labor struggle. That's why I'm supporting the workers that have been locked out by Sotheby's. And I'm also working on campus to organize students, mobilize them, get them involved in politics, get them fighting for some radical ideas, some student rights.
Who wrote the Communist Manifesto?
Karl Marx.
Right, so Marxism is communism, right?
Yeah, but there's a difference between Stalinism, Maoism, and Marxism, as Marx wrote about it.
As Marx wrote in its sort of purest form. Would you like to see that take hold here in America?
Yeah, because the difference between what you're talking about is, rather than the state controlling everything, what we want to see as socialists is the workers controlling everything, because they're the ones that produce everything.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
This is Liam McDermott, reporting for NJ.org. We are here at the Occupy Wall Street movement. Now, I've been here all day interviewing people, and there's a lot of different opinions, a lot of different false opinions, I would say. A lot of good intentions, though. I think that the idea of taking money out of politics is a fantastic one, that having political campaigns that can be funded by PACs that get money from foreign governments, corporations, anybody, and they can donate the money anonymously, is going to spur on a corrupt system. I myself used to actually work on Wall Street. I brokered Eurodollars and traded electricity, which is two of the biggest rackets out there, so I can certainly tell you that it is corrupt. I think one thing people fail to understand is that the banks are the ones that print the money, not the federal government. So when you have these enormous banks, which are known as the primary dealers, writing out these complex derivatives with all this additional risk, what they're doing is printing money. And what they did do was print way too much of it, and now we have a situation where nobody knows what money's worth because there's too much of it out there. The Federal Reserve continues to leave the interest rates at zero. The problem with that is that now when people are trying to evaluate equities or commodities or anything, it's all priced in US dollars. Now when you don't know what a US dollar is worth, it's impossible to price out anything else based on that. And I think that's a major problem that has been overlooked by the movement and politicians. It's just really basic economics. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jamie Adursky with NewJersey.org. We're here at Occupy Wall Street today, and we all know what the overarching issue is here, but what's unclear is what pushes the individual to come here and protest, and that's what we hope to find out today. And also, we'd like to find out a little bit more about what these people in these communities have to offer for suggestions to help these problems that they feel they're coming up against. And here we have two people at Occupy Wall Street. And what's your name, sir?
Ben.
Ben, where are you from?
Jersey City.
Okay, and where are you from?
I'm from Lodi, New Jersey.
From New Jersey as well? And what's your name?
Patricia.
Patricia. So a little bit about what I want to get to know. We all know exactly what everyone is protesting in general, but what specifically brought the two of you down here to stop your lives and protest? How has this touched you?
I share some of the sentiment of the protesters, but I also feel like there's a lack of personal accountability. So I'm basically down here just to balance out the protest, if you will.
So you feel there's a lack of accountability by the government or by
citizens?
So by citizens. So you're protesting us?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you the same question. What exactly was it that brought you down here to protest? What makes you feel so strongly that you need to do this?
Well, me personally, I just came down here to support my friend, and he wants to come out here and play music for the protesters. I'm a musician as well, and I feel like it's a nice thing to do. You know, something nice goes a long way.
So you're a really good friend.
Yeah.
So you're kind of here for the atmosphere, is that?
I'm here to just sing the songs with him and, you know, keep them upbeat and stuff, and they come by and they express their gratitude for us coming out here to sing. Most people, you know, they don't take the time to come out here and see what's going on, and I'm glad that, you know, they actually we appreciate them and they appreciate us, and that's, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Right?
So you're really helping to motivate the people, because it's got to be rough staying here.
It's cold. It's really cold over here, so I give them credit. Yeah. So anything that anybody can do in New Jersey, musicians, artists, come out here and, you know, just tell them, you know, it's a long road.
We're here with two people that actually don't live in New York City, and we really want to get their perspective on the whole Occupy Wall Street movement as well. So can you tell me your name and where you're from?
My name is Marta. I'm from Poland.
From Poland. Okay.
Adrian from France.
From France. Okay. So I want to know what you think about this whole thing that's going on in New York City and really all over the world. What are your thoughts on it? Do you agree with it? Is there any part of it you agree with or disagree?
I think it's a good thing that people come together to protest peacefully against something that they think is unacceptable. And I mean, we've seen other movements in Europe, and I think this one is quite big in comparison to the ones we see in Europe. So I think, yeah, good.
Okay. And so, in your country, what do you think? What do you think people are thinking of Americans right now in this protest?
You mean this protest?
Yes.
I think there's a lot of sympathy in general among people, and yeah, that things need to be changed. So I think there's quite a big support.
Okay, great. And I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think about this whole movement, either across the nation or in New York specifically, that you've seen? Is there anything that you agree with, disagree with?
No, I think I agree that it's quite good that it's a peaceful movement. I think people have a right to be, to feel that they want to protest about something that they feel that they're angry about. I think in general I can understand why people would be angry. There are some movements that I guess I'm not sure I would agree with them being where they are. I think, for example, there's one movement, the European Central Bank, which from my understanding is actually trying to solve a lot of the problems we see in Europe. Yeah. So it's more probably on the side of, with the cause of the protesters from what I've understood. But so I don't know if I agree with all of it. But
okay, that makes sense. And back in where you're from, what do you think people are thinking about Americans? What is their take on all of this?
Well, I think the protest movement seems to be more of a global event. So I'm not sure people have associated it that much with Americans. Although I think they recognize that it started off here. I think in terms of what they think about Americans, there's I think there's just more headlines about the U.S. debt and the U.S. economy that is in people's minds when they think about the U.S. now. So.
Hi, I'm Jamie Adursky here at Occupy Wall Street. And here we have someone that actually works on Wall Street, so I'd love to get his perspective on this whole thing. Can you tell me your name and where you're from?
I'd like to just say my name is John. I can't really give out where I work. I'm from New York City.
Okay, great. And so why specifically are you here?
Well, I think that the group that's here basically is in the moral right. I think there's a moral responsibility to be here. I think there's a lot of injustice, economic injustice in this country. And in the last 10 years, it has deepened to a point where there's a crisis, a national crisis, as well as an international crisis. And I think the people here basically are standing up on the side of what's morally correct.
And I know that you don't want to tell us where you work or anything like that, but would you consider yourself one of the 1%?
I'm not one of the 1%. There's a lot of people who work on Wall Street who are not in the 1%.
And I think that's something that a lot of people may not realize, that a lot of people working on Wall Street, they're not all the CEOs. They're hardworking people just like you and me.
Well, I can tell you as an employee on Wall Street that there's a surprising number of people that do support this occupation.
And so why have more of them not come out?
Well, I would ask the same question to the middle class. I think these numbers should be much larger, and I wonder why the middle class hasn't been responding. And I think to a certain extent people are afraid.
So you think people are afraid of just the repercussions of what people are going to think, or just...
And I think people are afraid of losing their jobs, and I also think that with all we're seeing on TV, they're also a little bit afraid that the police have been a little bit violent towards protesters, so that keeps people away.
And so do you think that the media plays a role in scare tactics, keeping people away from this type of...
Well, I wouldn't say that they're employing scare tactics, but I think that they're continually misrepresenting the demographics here. I see a lot of senior citizens here. I see hard hats. I see ex-military personnel here. You see people like me who are middle-class executives. They keep trying to make it out like this is a bunch of disenfranchised hippies. And I don't think that's the case. When you walk around, you see a lot of people, especially senior citizens, who are basically hanging by a string financially. It's heartbreaking, and I stand with them.
And I understand what you're saying, why you're here, but what specifically has brought you here? How has this problem touched your life specifically, rather than just on the whole for everyone, for you?
Well, my family has also suffered financial difficulties. I was unemployed for about 6 months, and now I did find work. But I know how difficult it is for my peers in my age group to find work. The jobs are just not out there, and the corporations are sitting on trillions of dollars of assets, and they don't want to hire. So, I think we need a change in the system. I think we need to bring back Glass-Steagall. We need to regulate the banks. We need to separate the investment houses from the banking industry. And I think we need to make it lucrative for people to hire people again.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. It's great to get your perspective.